Dear all, so today we will see UGC Net Paper 1, the topic Logical Reasoning. In this class, we will be learning more details, that is the theory part of logical reasoning, and we will also discuss some of the previous year question papers on logical reasoning in a much more detailed manner. So let us see what is logic first. So logic is about making connections and discovering new things. We all know that we make arguments at home, isn't it? Our sisters, brothers all make arguments while sitting around a table while taking a cup of coffee. So let us assume that the sister is saying it was very cloudy yesterday, so it might rain tomorrow. Then hearing this, the brother is saying, no, after some time it was very hot, so it is likely that it might be hot tomorrow. After hearing all these, the elder person in the home might take a decision or might come to an inference that it would be a mixed type of a climate having both rain as well as a certain amount of hotness tomorrow. So this is actually the arguments that is happening at home. In real life or while doing research also, there might be arguments or there might be statements which might come up in the mind of the researcher, and after analyzing all these arguments, he or she might arrive at a possible conclusion. So logic is or logical reasoning comes under different types, and while doing these types of statements or arguments, it is possible to arrive at different types of conclusions. So let us look at what those conclusions are. And we know that we have arguments. The arguments are also called as evidences or accepted facts or premises. So these are statements that different persons or already accepted facts that are known to support the conclusion. And conclusion is the inference of the statement that the evidence establishes to prove. So evidence is also called as premise. So in logical reasoning, we always say the arguments are the premises. So that is a word which need to be looked into. Evidence or arguments or premises are all the same. So let us look at the first example. All men are mortal. So that is an accepted fact, is it not? Raghu is a man. That is also an accepted fact. Therefore, Raghu is mortal. So you can see that the conclusion is already contained inside the two statements or the premises, is it not? So the first two statements actually support the conclusion. So this is a form of a logical reasoning statement. And there are different types of logical reasoning, the first one being called as inductive reasoning. In inductive reasoning, the first premise will be a specific data point, and the second premise will be additional specific data based on the first premise, and lastly there will be general statement which shows the conclusion. Let us see an example. All swans I have seen are white. This is specific. Then you have additional specific data. That is, the swan I am looking at now is white. Therefore, all the swans are white. So, you have specific data, additional specific data that the person has looked into, that is, the swan that he is looking now is white. Therefore, all swans are white. So inductive reasoning actually follows two laws. One is called as law of uniformity of nature. That is, future is repeating the past. So whatever you have past data, that is actually a precedence of future. Law of causation. That is, if X is the cause of Y, wherever you see X, then it will be always followed by Y. That is law of causation. So inductive reasoning follows two laws, law of uniformity of nature and law of causation. That you need to remember. So inductive reasoning goes from specific premises to a general conclusion. Therefore, it is called as a hill climbing model, or it is also called as bottom up reasoning. So these are certain definitions you need to know. So it is not essential that you should remember, but it will be nice if you know that inductive is a hill climbing model. It is also called as bottom up reasoning. So you can see another example here. The sun has risen every day in the past, therefore it is probable that the sun will rise tomorrow. This shows that the future is repeating the past, isn't it? So this is confirming the law of uniformity of nature. The next type of reasoning is called as deductive reasoning. So you have a general statement, then you have specific information about the general statement, and finally again a specific statement that follows from the premises. For example, you have a general statement coming up first. Then based on that you have small premises coming up based on the general argument. This is an example of deductive reasoning. Example, all humans are mortal is a general statement. Chanakya is a man. That is a specific statement, and therefore Chanakya is mortal. This shows that you are going from a general statement to a specific conclusion. That is the peculiarity of deductive reasoning. Deductive reasoning is called as top-down reasoning, or it is also called as a waterfall model. And if you consider deductive reasoning, it is again of two types: immediate reasoning and mediate reasoning. Immediate reasoning is one that if the conclusion is drawn from a single statement, then we can say it is called as immediate reasoning. Again, it is coming under deductive reasoning. So you have an example: all cats are mammals, our pussy is a mammal. So a conclusion is drawn from a single statement. Mediate reasoning means if the conclusion is drawn from two statements, it is called as mediate reasoning. This type of reasoning is also called as syllogism, which we will come up later in other classes. And one of the characteristics of deductive reasoning is that if the premises are true, then the conclusion is true. So if you have two statements, in the case of immediate reasoning, it will be having only one statement, whereas in mediate reasoning we have two statements. So if both the two statements or premises are valid and true, we say that deductive reasoning is sound type of deductive reasoning. So example is, all humans are mortal, Rekhu is a human, therefore Rekhu is mortal. So you can see that there is a general statement: all humans are mortal, Rekhu is a human, therefore Rekhu is mortal. Specific premises coming up. So general to specific is the manner in which deductive reasoning occurs. So we can say in general, deductive reasoning is the formulation of first of all a theory, that is a general statement, then you formulate a hypothesis, you observe things and then arrive at a conclusion. Whereas in inductive reasoning, you firstly have observation, then you formulate a hypothesis, then come up to a general statement. Let us see now the characteristics of deductive and inductive arguments. In a deductive argument, you try to prove that the conclusion has to be true, and if the conclusion is true, then we say it is a valid conclusion, and valid conclusion arises only if the premises are true. If the premises are not true, we call it as an invalid conclusion, and if all the premises are true and valid, you call the deductive reasoning as sound. If any of the premises are true, or you call it as are not true, or you call it as a false statement, then it is an unsound type of deductive argument. Similarly, in inductive argument, the conclusion might be probably true. If the conclusion is true given by the probably true given by the premises, then we say that the inductive argument is strong. Whereas if the premises are not probabilistic, then we say that conclusion is weak. Or in the case of a strong conclusion, we say that all the premises are true and it is cogent. If at least one premise is false, we say that it is uncogent. So these are certain terms associated with deductive reasoning, but you need to know what is a sound type of deductive argument and a cogent type of inductive argument. So this slide actually gives you a detail about deductive argument and inductive argument in terms of soundness and cogency. There is a third type of reasoning which is called as analogous. When we say something is like the other, we call it as an analogous type of reasoning. Example is, some cats are like puppies. So this is an analogous type. Something is like the other. Then you call this as an analogous type of reasoning. So I have come up with a table showing the differences between deductive and inductive reasoning. This will make you more clear on the concept of deductive and inductive reasoning. So deductive means it is deterministic. That means you have a general statement, then you come up to specific conclusions. Is it not? So there is a high degree of accuracy with respect to, or certainty with respect to the statements, general statement that comes up in a deductive argument. So you call deductive argument as deterministic. Whereas an inductive argument, you are having specific premises and you are drawing a general conclusion out of it. So you can say it is a probable type of a statement. Deductive argument is scalable. As we have said, all cats are mammals. Pussy is a cat, so pussy is a mammal. Is it not? Similarly, you can say another cat by the name Ruby is also a cat. Ruby is a mammal. So you can scale the type of deductive reasoning. So that is not possible in the case of inductive reasoning. And whenever we make deductive statements, you require deep analytical and reflective thinking, because you are drawing general conclusions. You are drawing specific conclusions from general statements. So you need deep thinking to know that the statements or the premises are true with regard to deductive arguments. So inductive means you are basing a general hypothesis based on observations or experience. Deductive is called as priori, inductive is called as posteriori. Deductive is actually rational and structured, because already the premises are true, therefore it is a rational type of an argument. Inductive is called as a innovative type of reasoning. Innovative, because you can draw more and more conclusions which are probable and new, therefore it is called as innovative. And deductive argument preserves truth, whereas inductive can be either true or false. Deductive argument is not dependent on empirical data. You cannot do experiments on deductive arguments. Whereas in inductive, it is dependent on empirical data. Deductive can be applied universally, whereas it is not possible in the case of inductive arguments. Deductive can be classified into immediate and mediate, which is not possible in inductive. Deductive is very sound and true. As we have already said, if the premises are true, then we say deductive argument is sound. And inductive argument, because we have specific premises and drawing general statements, we can formulate hypotheses in the case of inductive arguments. And deductive can be structured into syllogisms. If you have two premises and arriving at a conclusion, those statements, specific statements, are called as syllogism. And in inductive, based on formal validity, we can say the inductive statement is cogent or not. Cogent means strong, if all the premises are true. So these are the statements, or we can say these are the probability of statements with regard to inductive and deductive arguments. So we need to know what is deterministic, what is probabilistic, what is priori, what is posteriori. So deductive means it preserves the truth, whereas in inductive the truth or the validity of the statements depends on the strength of the premises, and you cannot make experiments on deductive arguments, whereas you can make experiments on inductive arguments. And when you have two statements and a conclusion, it is called a syllogism in deductive reasoning, whereas the strength of the premises determines the conclusion in a inductive argument. So here we have some statements. You have to find out whether the statements are inductive or deductive. So first one, we can say evaluate whether inductive or deductive. Heavy rainfall occurred in Meghalaya every year for the past decade. Therefore, it is probable that there will be heavy rainfall this year as well. So you can see that future is repeating the past. Therefore, this is an inductive argument. Assuming every Indian Prime Minister was a poet, it is probable that the next Prime Minister will also be a poet. So this is again following the uniformity of nature. Law of uniformity of nature. Again, it is an inductive argument. Every rhino discovered in Assam is two-horned. Therefore, it is probable that the next rhino will also be two-horned. Again, inductive. So, all the statements given here are inductive. Next, we can see another example whether these statements given are inductive or deductive. We have to evaluate. So, first one, all animals are six-legged animals, or ostriches are mammals. Therefore, all ostriches are six-legged animals. So you can see that conclusion is already contained in the premises. Therefore, it is a deductive argument. If I won the KBC show, I would be a millionaire. I did not win the KBC show. Therefore, I am not a millionaire. So every statement that comes from the general statement is a specific statement. So conclusion is also specific. Therefore, it is deductive. Let us see the third one. All fishes are mammals. All dolphins are fishes. Therefore, all dolphins are fishes. All dolphins are mammals. So many specific conclusions coming up. Again, these are all deductive arguments. I hope it is clear regarding the inductive and deductive nature of the arguments. Now let us come to the previous year question papers. All of these have been asked for the previous UGC NET examinations. Which of the following is an analogous statement? Man is like God, God is great, Gandhi is the father of the nation, man is a rational being. So something is like the other. In which statement? Statement is A, isn't it? Man is like God. So the answer is A. This was asked for 2019 examination. Next one, the deductive method differs from inductive method in drawing its conclusion from. So deductive argument is based on general truth, isn't it? If premises are true, then conclusion is true. So the first answer is verification, no. Particular instances, no. Applications, no. So the answer is D, general truth. Asked for 2021 examination. Next one, given below are some of the characteristics of reasoning. Select the one that is not a characteristic of deductive reasoning. So not a characteristic. In the table form we have already explained about deductive reasoning. In deductive reasoning, experimentation cannot be performed, because why? From general statements we are arriving at specific conclusions. So everything is already explained in the general statement. So the first one, the conclusion must be based on observation and experiment, is not a characteristic of deductive reasoning. So probably that is the answer. Conclusion must be supported by the premises, that is true. Conclusion must follow the premises, true. The argument may be valid or invalid. We have seen the arguments may be valid or invalid with regard to deductive reasoning. So the answer is A. You cannot apply observation and experiment on deductive reasoning. Next one, pre-employment testing of teachers is quite fair because doctors, architects and engineers who are now employed had to face such a testing. What type of argument is this? So something is like the other. Pre-employment testing is like that of engineers who had to face such a testing. So analogous, isn't it? So deductive, analogous, physiological, biological. The answer is answer 2. Next one, if we want to seek new knowledge of facts about the world, we must rely on the reason of the type inductive, deductive, demonstrative, physiological. Inductive, isn't it? We can formulate new hypotheses or new innovative techniques can be applied to inductive reasoning. So answer is 1. Next one, inductive reason is grounded on two laws we have already seen, uniformity of nature and law of causation. So which one here? It was asked for NET 2021 examination. Integrity of nature, uniformity of nature, unity of nature and harmony of nature. So uniformity of nature, answer is B. Next one, if a large diamond is cut into small bits, little bits, it will lose its value. Just as an army is divided up into small units of soldiers, it loses its strength. So it's something like the other. The argument may be called as, this was asked for 2019 examination. It is analogous, isn't it? So analogous, deductive, statistical, causal. So analogous, A. Answer is A. Next one, superiority of intellect depends upon its power of concentration on on one theme in the same way as a concave mirror reflects all the rays that strike upon it up to one point. So this is analogous. Superiority of intellect is same as concave mirror. So analogous statement, answer is C. Next one, given below are two statements. A valid deductive statement 1. A valid deductive argument cannot have all the premises true and a false conclusion. So that is true, isn't it? If the premises are true, then the conclusion must be true. Then cannot have, that is true. Statement 2. The concept of truth cannot be applied to arguments. That is false. The concept of truth comes from arguments. So which of the following is true? So we can say statement 1 is true but statement 2 is false. So the answer comes as statement 1 is true is the statement B. So answer will be B. Statement 1 is true but 2 is false. Next one, a deductive argument is invalid if, this was asked for 2019 examination, premises and conclusion are all false. Invalid statement, which one we have to select? So invalid premise and conclusion are all false can be true, isn't it? Premise is false but conclusion is true. That cannot happen. Premise is true but conclusion is false. This premise is false but conclusion is true. That can happen. Premise is true but conclusion is false. That cannot happen. If the premise is true, conclusion is false. That is the answer for this question. So premises are true means conclusion must be true. So that argument is invalid in this case. Then given below are some of the characteristics of deductive reasoning. Select the one which is not a characteristic of deductive reasoning. Conclusion must be based on observation and experiment cannot be applied to deductive reasoning. So that is the answer. Answer is A. Conclusion must be supported by premises. True. Conclusion must follow premises. Yes. The conclusion argument is valid or invalid. Of course that is true. Next one. Select a code which is not correct in the context of deductive argument with two premises. An argument with one true premise and one false premise and a false conclusion may be valid. An argument with two premise and a false conclusion may be valid. An argument with one true premise and one false premise and a true conclusion may be valid. An argument with two false premises and a false conclusion may be valid. So which is not correct in the case of deductive argument. So if two premises are true, then the conclusion has to be true. So here we can see the second one. true premises and a false conclusion cannot be stated as valid. So that is the answer. Which of the following is the strength of inductive reasoning? That what is the strength? It can be used to generate new hypotheses. It is innovative, isn't it? So which of the following is the strength? It is always valid, you cannot say. It can be used to generate new hypotheses. That is the answer. Answer is 2. Inductive reasoning can be applied or used to prove conclusions with certainty. Inductive reasoning is not affected by the presence of negative cases. So all these are not going to be the strength. It can be used to generate new hypothesis is the strength. Which of the following is inductive reasoning? If it is raining, the ground is wet. It is raining, therefore the ground is wet. All swans we have observed have been white, therefore all swans are white. Smoking causes lung cancer, therefore I should not smoke. All mammals have 4 legs. My dog is a mammal, therefore my dog has 4 legs. So future is repeating the past. That means in the past all swans we have observed have been white, therefore all swans are white. That is the answer, isn't it? Answer is B. So these are the questions with regard to inductive reasoning and inductive and deductive reasoning. Of course, analogous means one is like the other. I hope all the questions that we have discussed in this slides have been useful to you, and if you look through the previous questions, main things that you have to note is that the deductive reasoning is deterministic while inductive reasoning is probabilistic. Inductive reasoning can be used to formulate new hypotheses, whereas deductive arguments, if the 2 premises are true, then the conclusion is always true. If you know all these, you will be able to score very good marks with regard to logical reasoning. Thank you. I will be coming up with new slides in the coming weeks. Thank you. If you like this channel, kindly subscribe. Thank you.